What I need, something, something. What I want, something, something. What I really need, something, something. What you really don't want, what you really want, yeah.
Okay folks, looks like we've got a good crowd here, which is very nice to see. We'll just start to kick things off, I think. A few little announcements. Could we keep the stairs and paths clear? That was one of the requirements of us having the venue. Okay, is that better? Okay, just a couple of things. Please keep the paths and stairs and things clear if we can. If you have any marshals and things ask you to clear a path, please don't express any aggression to any marshals or police or anybody. We are a peaceful protest. There are some hearing impaired deaf people here. We have signers for them, so if there are any in the crowd, please come up to where you can see the signer, and could people in the crowd let them through?
There's no more power, just listen! they wouldn't have heard you.
Exactly, I'm not a politician, I can't scream that loud. And please don't litter the environment. There are rubbish receptacles and bags and things, so please leave a clean environment after you. We have a number of pre-prepared talkers. If anybody else wants to have their 5 minutes, there's a board up the front here, and just write your name on the board. And now we'll move on to Sally with an acknowledgement.
Good morning! Can you hear me? Hey! I would like to start with an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge all the ancestors and people of the Gunnedah and Darug lands, past, present and future. I would like to acknowledge, I'm shaking, the real truth behind the pain and suffering caused by the illegal invasion and the battles fought to protect country. I would like to acknowledge the tenacity and strength and survival of the oldest civilization and culture in the world. I would like to give sincere and heartfelt thanks to be here on traditional country today. Thank you.
Okay, it's great to see you all here. To me, one of the main things about today, we're not likely to change a politician's mind, but at least we're seeing that those of us that feel that things are wrong, those of us that have had a feeling of wrongness about what's going on for a long time, even before Abbott came in and really started destroying, we can see that we're not alone now. keep in touch with each other, build your strength so that we can fight. Okay. Yeah, I was talking about what I believe in then, not just admin stuff. Okay, our first arranged speaker for you today is Susan Templeman. I'll hand over to her.
I want to acknowledge that we are on the grounds of two great nations, the Darug and Gundungurra, and pay respects to and express admiration for the leaders of those great nations, past and present. And just 1 week on from International Women's Day, I especially want to pay my respects to the traditional women of this country. These are strong women whose leadership sets an example for all Australians. This is a stunning crowd, and despite the clouds, a stunning day. But the fact that we even feel the need to be here makes me angry and sad. We're here because our rights are being assaulted. The rights of workers, the rights of students, the rights of gay people, the rights of Aboriginal people, the rights of asylum seekers, the rights of people with disabilities, our right to a job, our right to be treated decently if we don't have a job, our right to a national broadband network, and the rights of the environment, which is so obvious to all of us who gather in the Blue Mountains. We saw the damage the Howard government did to progressive policies, and that's what got me involved in politics. And this Abbott government wants to go even further. They are running on an agenda of hate, and the destruction of our rights is their only goal. I'm sure many of you were watching on YouTube the interview that Tony Abbott did with the students from Newtown performing High just this week. And what a grilling it was, as he noted, better than Q&A. What Abbott thought would be a nice little chat about how he wants to plant more trees and not impose any taxes really went the wrong way for him. And I think what these kids showed, and these are students who would come from the mountains, they would come from the Hawkesbury, they would come from all over Sydney. They showed that in spite of being treated as public school students, as second-class citizens by the Abbott government, they were still going to follow their dream. And they recognised that Tony Abbott is a dinosaur. In a short 5-minute conversation, they showed that he's a man who has no concept of gender equality. A man who opposes gay marriage. A man who won't address climate change. And a man who cannot treat asylum seekers with compassion. And I think it's important that we acknowledge, and I personally want to acknowledge, that I don't believe Labor got it right on the issue of asylum seekers. I'm a long-time member of Labor for Refugees, a group which works within the Labor Party to get better policy outcomes. Senator Doug Cameron demonstrated that there are many people within the Labor Party who wanted to see change while we were in government, and now we are pushing for change while we're in opposition, so that when we get back into government, we have a more humane policy approach. But what is clear now is that the coalition government is even further away from finding a humane response to a global human need. I agree with a sign that's been doing the rounds for March in March. I'm sure there's one out there today. It says we need to find a better way. No towbacks, no long-term detention, no offshore prison. They should be the policy basics for the ALP. Our generation cannot, in years to come, say we didn't know what was happening. We cannot say we didn't know the damage that was being done to people. We know, and we cannot support it. I also want to focus on what's happening here in the seat of Macquarie. how we're being represented by one of Tony Abbott's stormtroopers, Louise Marcus. It's puzzling to me that a woman who identifies as a Christian, who's a member of the Hillsong Church, who has personal knowledge of life in Papua New Guinea, and who has no doubt worked with many people with mental illness in her role as a Hillsong social worker, can stay silent on the asylum seeker issue. We know why she stays silent on gay marriage, but why does she stay silent on the decision not to proceed with the Gonski school funding reforms? Everyone knows that those would make a massive difference to our teachers, our schools, and most importantly, our students. And why does she stay silent on the plans to charge $6 for every visit to a GP, when in this electorate alone, that will be an extra tax every year of $5 million? As you are demonstrating today, and as subsequent speakers will highlight the multitude of issues that have brought us here, this electorate does not have a voice in Canberra on any of these issues, and that's a disgrace. I say to our local federal member, stand up against Tony Abbott, stand up to Scott Morrison and Christopher Pyne and Joe Hockey. I say to our local federal member, fight for what your electorate wants. But I have no faith that that will happen, and we will need to march every march until we throw this government out.
I think that was a pretty good intro.
Of competing with Susan Templeman. But what I'm lacking in talking experience, I'll have to make up in anger and compassion. My name's George Winston. I'm the secretary of the Blue Mountains Refugee Support Group. Thank you. I've been doing that for 12 years. Now, I'm an old refugee from World War II, from Poland, from the Holocaust. That explains what I'm doing, because I'm one of these guys. I came to Australia, sorry about this feedback. Yeah. Can you hear me at the back? Right, you can, I'm all right. I came to Australia in 1950 as a stateless person. I was not locked up in a prison camp behind razor wire. I went to Randwick Boys High School. My father had a job within a week, and my mother worked in the rag trade. And we've had a wonderful life. I've been here for 63 wonderful years. Now, Australia signed the Refugee Convention in 1951 that gave an example to the world of what to do, and it let in hordes of flotsam and jetsam like myself after World War II. Can't hear me, sorry.
Shout.
Yeah. I'll try to yell. Is that better? Okay. I accuse this government, I accuse it of imprisoning children behind razor wire for months or years. I accuse it for imprisoning innocent people indefinitely without charge. I accuse it of sending asylum seekers back to danger, jail, torture, or execution. I accuse it of sending asylum seekers to hellholes such as Nauru or Manus Island. I accuse it of stopping asylum seekers from working or studying and forcing them into destitution. I accuse it of using asylum seekers for political ends. I accuse it of wasting billions of dollars. And I accuse it of seriously contravening the Refugee Convention and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. I accuse it for trampling on basic human rights. And I apologise for copying Émile Zola in the 19th century, who said j'accuse. Now, the Blue Mountains Refugee Support is working against these practices and policies and is actively supporting asylum seekers in the community. We need your help. Please look on the internet for Blue Mountains Refugee Support Group and join us. You can see me here after this talk if you wish. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your support.
I'm wondering if I move a little bit forward. I think it's the generator that's creating a bit of a problem in the background there. Okay. My name's Susie Van Optorp. I've lived in the Blue Mountains for about 30 years. We were refugees from Sydney during the Fraser era. So I've got a long-term commitment to keeping a Liberal government in its place. I just want to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, the Darug and Gundungurra people, and paying our respects to the elders past, present, future. And I'm always reminded of what a wonderful place we live in. As a community worker, as a mother, as a grandparent, I'm mad. I'm also very sad by what's happening in our society. I feel that the current federal government is trying to rewrite the socio-political story of our times, and having had to put up with Howard for 11 years, I'm just incredibly angry, I guess, about what we're now having to go through, because I feel that this government is probably even worse than Howard. It's run by extreme right-wing fanatics of both an economic and a religious kind, and I think they are the worst right-wing fanatics you can have. I find it really amusing that people on that side of politics might think that we're all left-wing fanatics, but the way I see it is there's no other word to describe them. Susan and George have spoken about some of the big issues of our time. For me, as someone who lives in the Blue Mountains and also holds a long-term interest in the rights of people who are less advantaged than myself, I wanted to just talk about three issues that I see impacting in the mountains, but also in Sydney. During the week, I was at the Forum for the Women's Domestic Violence Court Advocacy Service. I know some of my colleagues are here, and I pay tribute to you all. You're wonderful. What was a very positive forum was topped off by, I had to walk from one end of Sydney to the other, and just about on every street corner I saw homeless people, beggars. I've never seen that before in Australia, where literally every street corner there are people begging. Here in the Blue Mountains, I find that with the current, the end of the so-called era of entitlement, people that are on New Start, people that are on parenting allowance, people on disability benefits are all at risk under this government. I need to acknowledge that I personally think that Labor's attempt to get parents off sole parent benefit was wrong, and I was really pleased to hear that Bill Shorten has acknowledged that it was wrong. But we also need the ALP to change that policy too. There's quite a few policies we need to change, and it needs to start now. I think there's a really strong link between the paltry amounts of money people get if you're surviving on Centrelink benefits and homelessness. I've worked in the community sector for 30 years. I have never seen the numbers of homeless women presenting at services like I see today. And there are no options for those women, no short-term or long-term fixes. It's really appalling. And, we have women and children, men as well, but because I work in the women's sector, that's who I see. Women and children sleeping in cars, women and children who don't know where they're going to be sleeping the following night. Again, unless we bring New Start and parenting benefits up to a level that people can exist on, we're going to see a lot more of this. There's so much housing insecurity in the mountains and in the broader country in Sydney, but also wider. But you can really see how it's impacting up here. The third thing I wanted to just highlight today is about sending a message to Canberra, but I think we can't forget that currently we almost have wall-to-wall Liberal governments, and what we're seeing in New South Wales is the state government is working in cahoots with the federal government on this social agenda. And I think we need to send a message to Rosa and to Louise. Also, I think this shows you that in unity there is strength, and it makes me really proud to live in the Blue Mountains. Thank you.
Now we've heard from a few people. Let's hear from the crowd. Let's go! Hey! Shame, Abbott, shame! 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 Thank you! Thank you! Jessica has time! Okay, next Danielle's going to speak.
Hello, I'm Danielle Wheeler. I come from down in the Hawkesbury. Quite a few of us have ventured up here today. Hello, Hawkesbury folk. We come from the right-wing Conservative area that brought you Louise Marcus. And for that, we are truly sorry. I'd like to acknowledge the Darug and Gundungurra people and their elders past and present. This was, is and always will be Aboriginal land. It's not a common thing for Australians to protest against their government. So when we do, it should be seen as a big deal, and it should be given major media coverage. But today, our coming together shouldn't be a surprise. I thought I knew how bad this government was going to be. Susan and I spent lots of time last year telling you all about it. But even I'm shocked. We've got a government that gets its education policy from conservative right-wing ideologues. Its scientific policy on climate change from economists. Its welfare policy from the richest woman in the world. Its gender equity policy from a bloke. And its conservation policy from the Bible. We knew there would be no marriage equality under this government. We knew Gonski funding reforms would be trashed. We knew that direct action on climate change meant no action at all. We knew that big business would have a greater say than ordinary decent Australians. But we didn't know that we'd have to pay to go to the doctor. That the ABC would be cowered into silence. That we should prepare to work till we are 70. Or that we had too much forest. But none of these things come close to the lack of transparency, the destruction of democracy, and the horror and shame that we feel as a nation due to our government's actions on refugees. We are a prosperous, safe, well-educated and compassionate people. We pride ourselves on our decency. But there's nothing decent about locking children up and herding people into indefinite detention. We should be leading the world in the humane treatment and resettlement of refugees. Instead, we aren't even told what's being done in our names. Somehow in the last few years, Australia's lost its way. We've become obsessed with material wealth. We fell for the emperor in his new clothes. He told us that if we could dig it up, chop it down and flog it off, we could have everything we ever wanted. 6 months on, we find that Emperor Abbott is stark bollocky naked. And we're embarrassed and enraged. Somehow we've ended up with 1950s man. all hairy chest and fossil fuels. What we really need is a 21st century superhero, solar powered, low carbon, smart, and with a vision for the future. What we really need, yeah, we could have a woman, God forbid. What we need is hope. Please don't get caught up in anger and despair. We've got 3 long years ahead of us. We need to find ways to combat the Abbott government that give us hope for a better future. There's lots we can do. Sign the letter to Louise Markets that's circling. Join the Blue Mountains Conservation Society or the Refugee Support Group. Grow, or both. Grow food. Choose renewable energy. Sing or dance your protest. Fight coal seam gas. Join the Greens and stand up for a hopeful, compassionate Australia. And don't ever accept that we're a noisy minority, that we're disrespectful, fear-mongering or liars. For too long, governments at all levels have confused apathy with support. We're not a minority. We're the rumble before the roar. We have the courage, the vision and the will, and we will take back our country. We can do it, we deserve to do it, and we need to do it. Hope, courage and peaceful protest will triumph. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, Shirley.
Hello everybody, can you really hear me at the back? Way back there? I have to shout, right, I'm going to shout, I haven't shouted for years. Thank goodness to be able to shout. Right up close to the mic. First of all, full honour and respect to the original people of this land who I never forget. I am Shirley the Bag Lady. I started being a bag lady in 2001 in response to what the Howard government was doing or not doing with plastic bags. And guess what? I actually got the Howard government somehow to fund a project about plastic bags. It was called the National Plastic Bag Awareness Week. The NPBAW, if you like. I wasn't funded to do this. I was happy that somebody else was doing it for me. Clean Up, Woolies, Coles, all sorts of big organisations, but the meetings were very boring. So, somehow or other I created the character of Bag Lady. And as soon as I created the character of Bag Lady, good things started to happen to me. I started to meet people of all ages, from 3 to 93, who would come up and say to me, "What are you doing in them bags?" Right, so in Northern Ireland, I started this thing called ASAP, which means living ASAP, living as sustainably as possible. Thank you, dear friends. I've been doing it now for 15 years plus whatever, I don't know. I am totally happy. I do without all the crap things and I try to support all the good things. So it's wonderful to see faces around me who I know are on the same wavelength. Please, can I say to you that the only reason I'm on this platform at the moment is because Sue Morrison rang me this morning and said she was feeling sick and she couldn't come and fill this spot. And Sue Morrison has been on my radio show, the Global TV show, many, many times. She has great wisdom, great knowledge and great inspiration. So I want us all to send our love to Sue Morrison today. Thank you. So I haven't prepared a speech, I'm just speaking totally from the heart. And I want to say that as Bag Lady, I have met thousands of school children. We are now working with 14 million eco-school children. Eco-schools has just come to Australia. We have worked with the Parliament, with the government in Northern Ireland, and more than half of the Northern Ireland Assembly, the power-sharing government, has signed the ASAP pledge to give up one thing, to take up one thing, and to make a difference to our world. The whole world, in my view, is coming to this incredible party. But it's not a fun party only, it's a very serious thing. So I'm actually going to put out a personal appeal. Could the Greens and the ALP really work together? Because the only way we're going to get rid of this mob is together. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine, thanks. Just give me a second while I find this bloody thing. Because we've just had a big session of the Dennis Kevin's Poets Breakfast, which I've been at for 20 years, and they're taking my pack off. They think I shouldn't be in the wilderness anymore. And I think that's right. Dennis wrote this in 1985. In 1964, I was a member of the Katoomba Foundation, which it is now, that saved the Southern Blue Mountains. I'm still a member of the Katoomba Foundation. This poem he wrote was for all Australians. At first he called it "Ah, White Man." And then he changed it later, and I was there the day he changed it in my house at Blackheath. He changed it to "Ah, Brother." "Ah, brother, I'm searching for the sites sacred to you, where you walk in silent worship and you whisper poems too, where you tread like me in wonder and your eyes are filled with tears when you see the tracks you've travelled down your 50,000 years. I'm searching round Australia, I'm searching night and day for a site to you so sacred that you won't give it away for a bit of coloured paper. Say the church you're knocking down, or the rocks, your nation's birthplace by the bridge in Sydney town. Your cathedrals I have entered, I have seen the empty aisles where a few knelt down in sorrow. Where were all the children's smiles? Big cathedrals full of beauty, opal glass and gleaming gold, and an old man in an overcoat who had crept in from the cold. Your schools, I drifted through them, heard the sound of swishing canes, heard the shouts of angry people, crushing flowers in our brains, heard the bark up on the rostrum, where the powers had their say. Shouldn't children's hearts be sacred, though they're made like mine of clay? Where's your wonder? Where's your worship? Where's your sense of holy awe when I see those little children torn apart by fear of war? What is sacred to you, brother? What is sacred to your clan? Are your totems rainbow feathered? Is there dreaming in you, man? Sacred, sacred, sacred. Gee, you chuck that word about, and when the echoes answer sacred, sacred louder still you shout, and the echoes come in patterns, and then louder every one, till they meet like waves together and go bang, just like a gun. Sacred, hesitating now, a film is reeling through my brain and through my memory of our sacred rendezvous, of our meeting, of our parting, of my tears as sweet as ice, of my numb incomprehension, of a shattered paradise. Sacred, oh so sacred, was our sacred rendezvous, and your ferocious anger when you found we weren't like you. But if I should make an act of faith in a voice both firm and clear that there's something sacred to me, you start drowning in your beer. What is sacred to you, brother? What is sacred to your heart? Is Australia just a quarry for the bauxite belts to start, where the forests are forgotten and the tinkling of the bell is a bellbird in the mountains, just something more to sell? Ah, brother, I'm searching for the site sacred to you, but the rivers, clear as crystal, smell like sewerfuls of spew from the pipe and pump polluters and the nukes that fleck the foam. Would you let a man with dirty boots go walking through your home? Sacred means that's sacred. It's where the spirits rise, where the rainbow wings of sunset on the edge of paradise. Sacred. That's my father. That's my daughter. That's my son. Sacred where the dreaming whispers hope for everyone. In the silence of the grottos of Australia's sunny land, stand together with the Kooris and the Murrays, stand together hand in hand. Open eyes to endless beauty and to spirits far and near, for Australia is our country. It is sacred to us here. Ah, brother, I'm searching for the site sacred to you, where you walk in silent whisper and you whisper poems too, where you tread like me in wonder and your eyes fill up with tears as you see the tracks you've travelled down your 50,000 year. Yes, the long, long tracks you've travelled, all those 50,000 years. Thanks, Dennis Kevins.
Well, coal seam gas, I guess, is just one of the horrors that we're frightened to open our newspapers to every morning. What's new today? You mightn't think it's a federal issue, but it is a federal issue. The current government is making our state government look almost progressive on this issue. There's a lot the federal government can do, and they're doing all the wrong things. They're trying to fast-track coal seam gas throughout Australia, trying to get the state governments to remove what little protection we've got already. And one of the ways they're doing it is through the free trade agreements. Nothing fair about them. One of them is the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. It will effectively allow foreign companies to sue our governments if they provide any protection for the people that might decrease the profits of the companies, including the mining companies. They've sued companies overseas for millions of dollars, sued countries overseas for millions of dollars, because they put in protections for their people. We'll lose all kinds of protections in lots of different areas. You know, coal seam gas is one of them, very clearly, because governments won't want to legislate against them. So the protections we've got, the few minor protections for the state government, will go. We've been to talk to Louise Marcus about standing up for the people who oppose coal seam gas in the Blue Mountains, and she doesn't want to know. No, she's not representing us. There's a new threat at the moment. There's a large licence covering a lot of the Blue Mountains and areas extending right up to Kapiti, the outskirts of our towns, Springwood, Falconbridge, Katoomba, right up through the national parks, up to Kapiti Valley and other areas. And if we don't do something very soon, that licence will be approved. The Stop Coal Seam Gas website, Stop Coal Seam Gas Blue Mountains, if you Google it, has got a petition on there that all you have to do is read through it. Sorry, there is a petition. The petition's important. By all means, sign it. But there is a submission which is more important. It carries a lot more weight, and there's been a slight extension on this submission. It was actually due last week, but we've got a few more days. We've got a hope of stopping it if we flood them with submissions. Now, all the points you'll need to use are on there. You can use those and copy and paste and just add your own individual comments, or write your own.
that it's important to get it in the next few days. So just Google Stop Coal Seam Gas Blue Mountains and it'll come up. Thank you.
Abbott has got to go, hey! Ho-ho! Tony Abbott has got to go! Can't hear you! Hey! Ho-ho! Tony Abbott has got to go, 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 hey! Ho-ho! Tony Abbott has got to go. Woohoo! Thank you! All right, we've got a lot of people who want to speak, which is just amazing. But we're going to ask all of them to keep it a little bit short in case it rains. And right now we've got Colin and Pat Jennings. Let's hear it for them.
We'd like to acknowledge the good people of this country, the Gundungurra and Darug people, and their elders past and present. Pat and I are both grandparents. We have 6 beautiful grandparents, and we're grandparents for Gonski as well as a lot of other things. The Tony Abbott Coalition government has been in power for only 6 months, and in that time they've moved to terminate many good working Aussies around this great nation. Before I read a poem, Toss Out the Terminators, I would like to show you to show your disdain and shout loud about the number of people who have gone in each section of the workforce. Let's acknowledge those poor souls who have lost their jobs to the Terminators. Even before the numbers started to roll, we lost such good men like Steve Bracks in the UN, Tim Flannery from the Climate Change. These good men are gone as a prelude to this revenge politics. So now, here we are, and maybe only a fraction of those who have been let go. Well, it was recently stated in a letter received by a young student, a foreign aid worker. You are terminated on the grounds that you are excess to requirements, whatever that means. Access to requirements. So I'm going to get Pat to read the list of those that have gone and are going.
Foreign aid workers terminated, how many? Public servants so far terminated, how many? The Federal Conservative Gonski district affecting teachers supposedly not shaping up, how many? Car manufacturing workers terminated, so many, and how many more still to go? The fruit factory workers terminated, how many? Our welfare and health workers terminated, or so afraid of major cutbacks, how many? Factory and tradespeople through unfair or meanly limited work practices terminated, how many? Yet also shamefully to go, Qantas workers to be terminated, how many? Other transport workers to go, to be terminated, who knows?
Shame, shame. Who else do you know who will lose their jobs? Only God knows how many others have come. Under the subsequent coalition governments, and even those of the right tossed Labor excuses, the only real growth industry seems to be in the prisons, and sadly they're mainly our Indigenous and distressed people, all those shamefully dying in our ridiculous detention centres. Shame! Even with a few employment gains here and there, the coalition always has a huge band of volunteers that they drag out of the community, who are still being encouraged to work hard for the next to nothing financially, while the super rich, Regina Reinhardt, and even more and more are gaining their riches. And Murdoch, he got his 880 million Aussie tax collect without a blink. Who said anything about that?
Not a globalist!
So, think old Banjo would have loved to have been here today. We mustered here all kith and kin, like a mob of sheep in drought. We've gathered here to raise a din before we're all locked out. It's down with tools from every ship before we grab our swags, or these terminators will with their whips to dishonour all our flags. Our Eureka flag will raise in sooth, stand by it wrong or right, for deep within our hearts in honest truth, we know we have a fight. The Eureka flag has to flutter and wave to give these terminators the toss. It's our Aussie way, we want to say, here under the Southern Cross. Or if you're a pacifist, just like me, and you believe that truth is right, then all people should now be free. Boy, our hearts need that chiefly light. So, have we the courage to withstand the brunt of this Terminator's grim campaign? Then let's carry our flag right up to the front, and let's have no war again. And before our brown bush burns to ground, and all the rivers run dry, let our Aussie voices resound. It's no to the Terminators will cry. When Terminator 1 repeats his dirge to try to crush this so-called carbon tax, and when the votes he'll so roundly purge, it's our grandkids who'll say it's a gift to us, welcome all, not tax. While welfare and kindness may soon be past history, and all that we've strived for has been tossed, then our sadness should not be a mystery. It's through inaction these things have been lost. So please toss out these terminators of fear, whose faceless are always the rich. For our jobs and our yearnings are dear, and their policies we can really ditch. Now join hands in a symbol of unity, for division shall bring us undone. To our kids, let them see we're fed into them, and sing back to them, all is one. Let's rally again at the big capital, and challenge these enemies of good. There is more to life than their capital, and it's love that will triumph for good. Thank you.
Treated the fire survivors of the Blue Mountains. That's what woke me up. All right? The Abbott government passed laws the night of the fire to change the application for the Abbott government changed the laws to ask for relief for bushfire victims the night of the fire. I didn't even know if my friends were alive. So, as far as I'm concerned, Abbott is not an Australian because Australians stick up for their brothers when they're in trouble.
Yeah! Motherfucker!
Now that's my little piece on fire survivors, and I can go on about that for a bit longer, but I won't. Oh, geez, I've just lost my thing. Okay. All right. Now there's a much more urgent, if I can even call it more urgent, problem that we need to address right now, and that's this CSG application. All right? You think the bushfires did something to our beautiful Blue Mountains? This CSG is about to destroy a great swathe of our wilderness all the way down from KPT to Springwood. The Blue Mountains will never be the same. We need to move now. Anyone who lives here and loves this place needs to get active, stop sitting on the couch and do something. Right, now here's my official speech to Abbott. My name's Letitia Camister. My mother and father moved to the Blue Mountains in 1972. Myself and my 7 siblings grew up running free in the pristine Blue Mountains. The beauty and the pristine nature of this environment is core to my self-image. It's core to my self-image, both as a local and as a person with Indigenous heritage. It is my history.
I know its lands, its creeks and its creatures and flora like I know myself. With this in mind, I will do whatever it takes to preserve and protect my home. Now I'm going to get technical because I mean business. The application covers a large area of the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area and large parts of the 3 national parks. The Gardens of Stone and the Wallamai and the Blue Mountains. Now you think this place is going to be the same after CSG has been through? You're wrong.
Look at America. Yeah.
Look at America, exactly. Right. These parks have a range of environmental and heritage values either poorly represented and not represented in the World Heritage Area. It is against international best practice guidelines to mine within or adjacent to a World Heritage Area, as is stipulated by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, as well as the International Council on Minings and Metals. The Greater Blue Mountains area is a designated World Heritage Area of global significance for biodiversity and conservation. Its ecosystems depend on a reliable supply of surface water and groundwater from aquifers. These water resources would be severely threatened by CSG exploration in the area. And we know that CSG is not safe for aquifers. Just ask the poor farmers in the Pilliga. The Blue Mountains local area alone contains 10% of the listed threatened species in New South Wales. These areas include 14 birds, 16 mammals and 48 plants. The Wallamai National Park is host to the unique Wallamai pine, which is classified as critically endangered by the International Union, under state and federal legislation. Relevant to its World Heritage listing, UNESCO notes that the Greater Blue Mountains contain primitive species of outstanding significance to the evolution of the Earth's plant's life. Loss of World Heritage status could result if exploration and exploitation of CSG gas is improved in the area. So, keep losing where I am. Known nationally and internationally for its scenic and pristine tourism industry, a mainstay of the Blue Mountains economy would suffer greatly. An extensive range of structured and unstructured recreational activities take place in the Greater Blue Mountains and are not compatible with either CSG exploration or exploitation. Coal seam gas exploration and or exploitation risk contamination of the water supply. The area covered by this application plays a vital part as water catchment for river systems which ultimately supply Sydney, the Blue Mountains and Lithgow with water. The area also covers the headwaters of declared wild rivers which are important to the scenic beauty of the World Heritage Area. I'm going to try and condense it a bit now. Coal seam gas is a fire hazard. It mainly comprises methane, which is highly flammable and can be easily ignited by sparks or an open flame. Methane leaks are common. Once an area is fracked, gas can leak from many places over an entire gas field. Should it be commercially exploited, pressurised methane gas flowing through gas pipelines from the processing plants could explode and cause untold devastation in this area. Just look at Hazelwood. Do you want Hazelwood here, but worse? No. That's what I've probably said enough. No CSG! No CSG!
My name's Wayne Brennan. I've worked in a national park for 27 years, and I find it quite rude and ignorant to think that the logging industry are the best conservationists of our forests. This is the sort of thing, this is the emotional claptrap that we feel. I'm not going to come and give you a bunch of statistics, particularly about coal seam gas, but I've been overseas to Wyoming, in the Black Hills, where I've been doing some work with the Lakota people. And it's devastating. This fight is not just about here in the Blue Mountains, this is throughout the world. And I can rest assure you, it's not over. The Lakota people, first medicine is water. If we mess with our water, we mess with us. My survival is about your survival. If your survival is threatened, then mine is as well. So we can only act collectively. Individually we might have different opinions, but this is a highly emotionally charged situation we're in, and the government knows that, and they play upon that. So we all have to be very, very careful and astute not to get caught up in traps. There are some people on this planet that I think the dark side works through, and I think Tony Abbott is one of those people. So Tony, we know about you. We know about you.
Duly noted.
Now, I'm a very simple man, but when I see things like this happen, I get very upset. Very upset. We live in this wonderful area here, and we take it for granted sometimes, but it is under threat. In my 27 years with the service, I've been responsible for educating children, adults, university students on sustainability and looking after the planet and the environment. We are now threatened. We've been told that we've been so effective, we've been greenwashing our students, and they want to shut us down. It's disgusting. And I feel really bad about where we are today, but you know what? I come to these sorts of rallies and it gives me hope. Joanna Macy, the great Buddhist philosopher and environmentalist, talks about the great turning. And I really believe, and this is the optimism that I carry, that we are now part of that great turning. I may not see those things change, but they will change. We have to be optimistic, and more importantly, we have to work together. We've got to keep the Chukrapa strong. The Chukrapa is the land, the law and the people. You mess with that, you mess with us. If we don't keep the Chukrapa strong, we're finished. No good. So, keep working together. Your survival is my survival. Thank you very much.
We work with hands, heart and feet. We represent joy. And so we've come here today to bring the joy of music and dance. Our march today is going to be a stationary march. So this is the point where I'm going to invite you all to march for the dignity and the freedom of all human beings and for the preciousness of this beautiful land that we live on. Let's have our arms in the air and have a dance with our drummers here today.
ritual that we do at the end of each of our drum and dance classes that we run here in the Blue Mountains. And I'm going to invite you to do that with me right now if you would like to. The first thing that we do is we take a deep breath in, giving gratitude to our beautiful Mother Earth and Father Sky. We breathe out and you thank yourself for coming here today, for standing up and being counted. You look to the people around you and you thank your beautiful brothers and sisters who are standing here with you. We give thanks to our teachers, to our lineage, all those who have come before us. And then we give thanks to the land here in which we live, our beautiful Blue Mountains, Darugundungara land. And we touch the earth. So I'm going to invite you, I know it's crowded, to touch the earth on which we're standing as an act of gratitude. Thank you very much.